In the silence before the first dawn, when the waters were still and the winds had not yet learned to speak, I observed those who wandered in darkness, seeking the source of their own breath. Few among humanity understood why they felt an ache that no earthly pleasure could fulfill. Fewer still recognized that this ache was a memory of origin, of the monad, the indivisible one that precedes all form. To those rare ones, the chosen, I extended a subtle whisper through dreams, intuition, and symbols. Many dismissed these inner signs as imagination, but a handful followed the pull, descending into the chambers of their own consciousness as if following a map inscribed before birth. When they finally arrived at the threshold of self, trembling with doubt and wonder, I revealed the ancient law: the monad cannot be approached through force, devotion, or intellect alone. It can only be entered through alignment, the precise harmony between thought, vibration, and identity. Thus began the first teaching. In an astral chamber, illuminated by a soft geometric glow, I spoke. You wander through reflections, believing them to be solid. You suffer illusions because you forget the one truth: you are not divided. The monad does not invite the fragmented. Only the unified may return. The chosen ones asked how to unify what life had fractured, and so I unveiled the foundation principle of Hermetic ascent. Every doorway in the higher planes is vibrational, and every vibration responds to the precision of word, intention, and resonance. I told them that among all tools in the cosmic architecture, sigils, numbers, glyphs, and geometries, none is as swift and potent as the properly spoken phrase. A phrase is more than language. It is a tuning fork of the soul. The right triad of words can seal a rift, command a force, or open an ancient gate. And for entering the monad, one triad alone holds the key. But before revealing it, I instructed the chosen ones to understand the architecture of the monad itself. For one must know what they approach, lest they mistake its radiance for annihilation. The monad is not a place, I said. It is the primal state, the origin of awareness before awareness turns upon itself. Entering the monad is not traveling to a kingdom, it is dissolving into the king. It is to stand where opposites cease, where shadow and light return to their unbroken source. Fear stirred in them, as it does in all who behold the Absolute. I told them this fear was natural. The limited self fears the limitless because it senses its end. But to enter the monad is not to die. It is to recall the eternal nature that has never known death. I taught them that many civilizations before theirs sought this union. Some used temples aligned to the stars. Others used sacred fungi, sound cylinders, or light-based rituals. But the most ancient method, older even than my inscriptions in Chem, involved the articulation of the word triad of reunification. This triad is not a password. It is a command issued by the deeper self to unveil its own origin. Spoken properly with alignment, calmness, and inner silence, it dissolves the illusion of separation. Spoken improperly, without readiness, it simply returns to silence, doing no harm, but offering no assent. The chosen ones begged to hear the triad immediately, but I forbade it, for the unprepared mind treats sacred words like ornaments, something to possess rather than something to become. The monad opens only when the speaker and the phrase are indistinguishable. So I told them their preparation would begin with the first descent, a 7-day inward journey examining the layers of identity, stripping away every borrowed belief, every inherited emotion, every unexamined desire. Only when the inner chamber was clear would they be able to wield the triad. Then, when the chamber dimmed and the lessons settled into their hearts, I spoke a final warning. To enter the monad, you must relinquish the self you defend. If you are not willing to lose what you believe you are, you cannot regain what you truly are. And thus began their sacred preparation. Hear me now, seekers of the first light, for before the triad can be spoken, you must confront the oldest adversary, not a demon, not a celestial being, but the fracture within your own consciousness. Humanity calls it by many names: ego, fear, shadow, doubt. But in the language of the ancients, it has only one definition: the silent enemy that mimics your voice. When the chosen ones gathered before me in the astral chamber, They believed they had come to receive a secret. They did not yet understand that they themselves were the barrier between their longing and the monad. So I began the second teaching, the unveiling of the inner division. The self you defend, I told them, is not the self that was born from the monad. It is a mask formed by years of memory, reaction, and misinterpretation. You mistake it for identity because it speaks in your tone. But its origin is fragmentation. A murmur of unease ran among them. Most humans cling to personal identity as though it were a treasure. But identity born of separation cannot enter unity. A divided being cannot step into the undivided absolute. I continued, within you are two forces, the voice of remembrance and the voice of forgetting. One calls you upward, the other anchors you to the illusion. Every struggle in your life is a war between these two currents. The silent enemy thrives in the unobserved mind. It whispers subtle falsehoods you cannot ascend. You are unworthy. You are incomplete. These thoughts freeze the seeker at the threshold. They are not truths. They are echoes generated by the fracture that occurred when the soul first descended into matter. To help the chosen ones see clearly, I projected before them a luminous geometry, the diagram of the two selves. Its left half glowed in fragmented angles, representing the conditioned self, reactive, fearful, shaped by the world. The right half radiated in perfect symmetry, representing the primordial self, the one forged in the monad, unchanged by time or experience. Human suffering, I explained, is the consequence of identifying with the fractured geometry instead of the eternal one. One student, trembling, asked why the silent enemy existed at all. To descend into matter, I replied, is to forget. To forget is to fracture, and to fracture is to experience. The monad sends fragments of itself into form, so that it may rediscover itself through contrast. You are the monad exploring its own infinity, but exploration is not remembrance, and the time had come for remembrance. I instructed them to observe their mind as one would observe a river, to watch every thought arise without clinging. The silent enemy survives because the untrained human merges with every thought, believing it to be me, but the observer, pure, still, unattached, is the one closest to the monad. You will know the enemy is speaking, I said, when the voice urges contraction, when it invites fear, hesitation, smallness, when it convinces you that you are lesser than the spark within you. One among them whispered, and how do we defeat it? Defeat is not the path, I answered. Integration is, for this is the hidden teaching lost to most mystical traditions. You cannot destroy the shadow without deepening the fracture. You cannot silence the enemy through force. You return to unity by embracing every fragmented part of yourself, recognizing it as a misunderstood reflection of the one. Thus I taught them the right of inner recollection, a process older than temples, older than the stars. Step 1. Witness the fragment. Whenever fear arises, do not run. Observe it as a separate entity. Name it gently. A fragment speaks. Step 2. Locate its origin. Ask the thought, whom do you protect? Even your fears believe they serve you. Understanding their intent reveals their innocence. Step 3. Reclaim the fragment. Speak inwardly. Return to the one who is your source. With this, the thought dissolves into the deeper self. Step 4. Center in stillness. In the silence that remains, feel the untouched presence beneath all thought. That presence is the monad echoing through your being. I watched as the chosen ones practiced. Some trembled as buried emotions rose like forgotten spectres. Others wept as the illusions they had carried for decades turned to mist. The more they released, the brighter the chamber became, not because the light changed, but because their perception did. Then I revealed the deeper truth. You believe you fear darkness, but the true fear is the vastness of your own light. The silent enemy fears dissolution because it knows the moment you recognize your true nature, it will no longer command your reality. This teaching struck them harder than any cosmic revelation, for humans are conditioned to seek external enemies, gods, demons, fate, circumstance. Few realize that the greatest prison is internal, maintained by the very thoughts they obey without question. I concluded the second teaching with these words: the monad does not reject you. It cannot. You are its extension. But until you gather the scattered pieces of yourself, until the observer, the shadow, the fear, the desire, the memory, and the silent witness stand as one, you cannot enter the realm of unity. To enter the monad, you must first become monadic. Thus ended the second preparation, and the chosen ones finally understood. The triad of words would not open the gate unless they themselves became whole. Chosen ones, hear the third teaching, for you now stand closer to the threshold than the unawakened multitudes who drift through the cycles of life without ever questioning the veil that binds their vision. Yet know this: proximity to the gate does not guarantee passage. Between the seeker and the monad lie 7 veils, woven from the very fabric of human perception. These veils do not exist to punish, but to protect the unprepared mind from the unbearable intensity of pure unity. I revealed this truth by guiding the chosen ones into a vast astral expanse, where each veil appeared as a translucent layer suspended in endless darkness. Each shimmered with a different tone: gold, violet, crimson, emerald, indigo, silver, and white. They pulse not as barriers, but as living fields of awareness. Before the triad can be spoken, I declared, these veils must be understood, for they are the final illusions that separate the divided self from the undivided source. The first veil, perception. The first veil formed from the senses themselves, for perception is not truth, it is translation. What humans call seeing is merely the mind interpreting fragments of light. What they call hearing is simply the brain responding to pressure waves. And yet, they cling to these distortions as though they were absolute reality. I taught them, you must learn to see without eyes, hear without ears, and feel without flesh. True perception arises from the inner stillness that precedes all sensory input. A few immediately grasped this, recognizing that their entire lives had been shaped not by what is, but by what they believed they perceived. The second veil, emotion. The second veil shimmered in warm crimson, vibrating like a living heart. Humans often mistake emotions for guidance, but I revealed that emotions are simply echoes, reflections of inner states, shaped long before awareness arises. They are neither enemies nor truths, but signals. The seeker must not suppress emotion, I said, for suppression deepens the fracture. Instead, observe it as a temporary wave, never allowing it to anchor your identity. Some chosen ones shuddered as ancient sorrows resurfaced, not to torment, but to be released. The third veil, story. The third veil appeared as spiraling symbols, shifting constantly. This is the veil of narrative, the stories humans tell themselves about who they are, where they come from, and what they believe they deserve. The greatest illusion, I told them, is the story you carry about yourself. For the story is not the self. You wear it like a garment, woven from memories and meaning. Before entering the monad, the garment must fall. This veil proved the heaviest for many, for humans cling fiercely to their self-crafted myth. The fourth veil, time. The fourth veil pulsed with ancient clocks and dissolving hourglasses. Time is a construction, a dimension used by the mind to measure change. But the monad, existing beyond all duality, is not touched by time. To enter the monad, I taught, you must step out of the river of time and remember the eternal now. The past is a story. The future is a projection. Only this moment is real. Those who listened felt time loosen around them, a dissolving chain. The fifth veil, separation. The fifth veil glowed in deep indigo, split into 1,000 fragments that floated apart like shards of glass. This veil represents the belief that one is a separate being, isolated from the world, disconnected from others. Separation is the most persistent illusion, I warned. As long as you believe yourself to be separate, you cannot return to the one who knows no division. A silence fell over them. They felt the truth ripple through their being. Every joy, every suffering had arisen from this illusion of isolation. The sixth veil, identity. The sixth veil vibrated with countless faces, past selves, alternate selves, imagined selves. Identity is the mask consciousness wears to explore different worlds. You fear losing your identity, I said, because you believe it is your essence. But identity is only a temporary role. The monad is the actor behind every role you have ever played. Some trembled as the mask of I began to crack. The seventh veil, fear of the infinite. The final veil shone the brightest pure radiant white. It was the fear of returning home, the fear of dissolving into the vastness of the absolute. The ego trembles before the infinite because it senses its end. But I taught them the secret. You are not dissolving into nothing. You are dissolving into everything. The fear you feel is the final whisper of the silent enemy. Cross this veil with reverence, not resistance. As they observed this last veil, some wept not from terror, but from recognition. They felt the pull of the monad, like a forgotten melody, calling them home. When the teaching ended, I spoke the essential truth. These veils do not block you. You hold them in place. When you stop clinging, they fall on their own. The chamber dimmed, and I told them the next step. When you are free from the 7 veils, the 3-word triad will ignite your ascent. In the next teaching, you shall understand the architecture of the gate itself. Chosen ones, having crossed the understanding of the 7 veils, you are prepared to hear what only a few lineages across the ages have known. The monad is approached not by distance, but by alignment, and alignment requires knowledge of the gate that stands between form and formlessness. This gate is not a structure of stone or a threshold in space. It is a metaphysical architecture woven from the primordial laws that govern consciousness itself. I revealed this gate to the chosen ones within a sphere of luminous stillness. Before them appeared a colossal geometric form suspended in nothingness, a living structure composed of interlocking circles, spirals, and radiant axes of light. It shifted constantly, both symmetrical and fluid, as though breathing through dimensions. This, I proclaimed, is the gate of the monad, the first doorway, the portal of return. It is the final boundary between the divided consciousness and its origin. Their eyes widened, yet none spoke. The gate radiated a presence too profound for ordinary language. The principle of resonance. I taught them first the foundation. The gate responds only to resonance, just as a musical instrument vibrates when struck by the correct frequency. The gate opens only when your inner state vibrates at the harmonic of unity. No being, however powerful, can force this gate. It yields only to those who have become inwardly monadic, whole, undivided, aligned. Understand this well, I said. The gate does not judge worthiness. It measures coherence. To demonstrate, I extended a beam of light from my hand toward the gate. The geometry shifted, brightened, and opened along a single axis. But when one of the chosen ones attempted to imitate the gesture, the gate remained still. You cannot open the gate with imitation, I explained, only with remembrance. The 3 pillars of the gate. I directed their attention to 3 radiant columns of light, forming the gate's foundation. These pillars pulsed like the heartbeat of creation. I named them Pillar 1, Awareness; Pillar 2, Intent; Pillar 3, Identity. Together, these form the triadic structure of all ascent. Awareness determines perception. Intent directs energy. Identity defines resonance. If any of these pillars are fractured, the gate remains silent. A being may have the desire to ascend, I said, but without pure awareness, desire becomes noise. And without the correct identity, without knowing the self behind all selves, intent lacks power. Thus the pillars explained why so few found the path, though all beings originate from the monad. The nature of the triad. Now they awaited the revelation of the secret triad, the 3-word phrase that aligns the seeker with the gate. But before revealing its nature, I made them understand its purpose. The triad is not a spell, I warned. It is a declaration of identity, a vibrational code that instructs the gate. The fragment is ready to remember itself. The triad works only if it reflects your inner state. To speak it without alignment is like striking a chord on an unstrung instrument. I describe the triad as an attunement, not a command. Its 3 words correspond to the 3 pillars. The first word ignites awareness. The second word anchors intent. The third word corrects identity. Those who speak these words truthfully, I said, experience a rearrangement within their consciousness, a unifying collapse, where all internal divisions dissolve into a single radiant point. In that moment, the gate recognizes you. The chosen ones asked why the triad consisted of only 3 words. I answered, the monad is simplicity. Complexity belongs to the divided world. The closer one approaches the source, the fewer distinctions remain, and so the triad reflects the nature of the monad, unified, direct, complete. Why the triad must be earned. One initiate, bold and impatient, insisted that he was ready, that he deserved to hear the triad immediately. I turned toward him with a gaze that pierced through his layers of illusion. You do not earn the triad by belief or desire, I said. You earn it by becoming able to survive what it will awaken within you. The triad does not merely open a gate. It destroys the last remnants of your smaller self. It silences the silent enemy entirely. It unmasks the illusion of separation. It dissolves your temporal identity. It brings you face to face with the monad, the light before form. No unprepared mind can bear that revelation, I warned. The unpurified self clings to division as though it were life. But the triad invites you into a realm where division cannot exist. Thus the preparation of the 7 veils, the integration of the fragments, the recognition of the silent enemy, all were essential. The gate responds, at last, to demonstrate. I uttered only the vowel tone resonance of the triad, not the words themselves, but the harmonic that precedes them. The gate surged with radiance, expanding outward in concentric waves of light. The chosen ones fell to their knees as the vibration passed through them like a tidal wave of truth. This, I said, is but the echo of the triad. Imagine what the words themselves can unleash. Their breath trembled. The next teaching will reveal how a seeker must prepare their inner structure to hold the charge of the triad. For when you speak the 3 words, you must be capable of becoming them. Chosen ones, you have now seen the gate and felt the echo of the triad's resonance. Yet knowing the gate's form is not enough. Approaching it without proper preparation would shatter the unrefined consciousness. For the triad is not mere sound, but a force, and the being who speaks it must become a vessel capable of holding its vibration without fracturing. Thus I taught the chosen ones the 5th teaching, the preparation of the inner vessel. The nature of the vessel, I began by revealing a truth few mortals ever grasp. Your consciousness is a container. Every thought, emotion, memory, and intention shapes the structure of that container. If the vessel is cracked, the triad will pour through you without anchoring. If the vessel is rigid, the triad will break it. Only a vessel that is both strong and supple can hold the fire of unity. To illustrate this, I manifested before them an image of 3 vessels. One brittle, one overflowing with noise, one clear and luminous. The brittle vessel, I explained, belongs to those ruled by fear. The noisy vessel belongs to those filled with desires and contradictions. The clear vessel belongs to those who have mastered themselves. The chosen ones remained silent, contemplating which vessel they resembled. The 3 purifications. I then taught them the 3 purifications required before the triad can be spoken. Each purification corresponds to one of the pillars of the gate. Purification of awareness. The first purification clears perception. To purify awareness, I said, you must remove the dust from the lens through which you see creation. The dust is made of assumptions, inherited beliefs, and unquestioned thoughts. I instructed them to sit in stillness and observe the stream of thoughts without attaching to any. This practice was ancient even before my inscriptions were carved in Chem. When you can observe your thoughts as clouds passing across the sky, then awareness becomes clear. Some struggled, for the mind of the untrained human clings fiercely to every thought. But clarity grows through discipline. Purification of intent. The second purification aligns desire. Most humans believe they want enlightenment, I said. But beneath that desire lies a chorus of conflicting intentions seeking power, recognition, escape, or superiority. These distort the resonance of the triad. I taught them to ask one question before every action. Does this lead me toward unity or deeper into fragmentation? Intent, purified. becomes a straight river of light instead of a chaotic storm. Purification of identity. The third purification is the most challenging. Identity must be purified not by destroying the self, but by unveiling the true self beneath the masks. I guided them to confront every label, every role, every title they clung to. I am this, I am that, I belong to this, I fear that. These masks are useful in the world of form, I said, but they must fall before the monad. As they loosen their grip on these identities, a deeper presence, vast and silent, began to emerge within them. That presence was their true essence. The harmonization. Once the purifications were set in motion, I revealed the next stage, harmonization. The vessel must not only be clear, but also resonant. Harmony is achieved, I taught, when your thoughts, emotions, and actions move in a single direction. Most humans move like scattered wines, feeling one thing, thinking another, doing a third. Such fragmentation destabilizes the vessel. To strengthen harmony, I gave them a simple but profound command. Let every action reflect your highest understanding. This alignment causes the vessel to vibrate with coherence, making it capable of receiving the Triad's light. The silent flame. I then revealed the final preparation, the cultivation of what the ancients called the silent flame. The silent flame is the inner stillness that remains untouched by thought, emotion, or circumstance. It is the spark of the monad within each being. When awakened, it glows behind the heart and illuminates the entire field of consciousness. You cannot enter the monad through thought, I said. You enter through the silent presence beneath thought. To awaken the silent flame, I instructed them to focus on the sensation of being pure existence without story or label. As they did, the chamber filled with a soft golden radiance emanating not from me, but from them. They had touched the flame, the internal crisis. Yet with every preparation comes an internal crisis. As the vessel becomes clearer, everything that is not aligned with unity rises to the surface. Old fears, hidden desires, buried griefs, and forgotten memories emerged like shadows seeking recognition. Some among the chosen ones trembled, others wept. One sank to the floor, overwhelmed. I spoke. This is not failure. This is cleansing. When darkness rises, do not fear it. It is leaving you. Through this crisis, their vessels became more resilient, more spacious, more luminous. The final readiness. When at last they rose again, I saw the transformation. Their fields were brighter. Their breath was calmer. Their awareness was sharp yet gentle. Their intent was unwavering. Their identity was unmasked. You are becoming vessels capable of bearing the Triad, I said. But one teaching remains before the words themselves can be revealed. The chamber dimmed as I delivered the final instruction of this teaching. To speak the Triad is to declare unity not as a concept, but as your very being. Prepare not only to speak the words, but to become them. But before I revealed it, I reminded them once again, the Triad is not a password. It is a state of being encoded into sound. If you speak the words without becoming them, they will remain only echoes. But if your inner vessel is prepared, the words will act as a tuning fork that aligns your consciousness with the source. The chosen ones formed a circle around me within the astral chamber. The air grew still. The geometry surrounding us dimmed into a faint glow, as if reality itself awaited the next breath. I extended my hand, and the gate of the monad appeared once more, vast, shifting, radiant with infinite depth. Its geometry pulsed in slow cycles, responding not to matter, but to vibration. You shall now understand the Triad, I said, not through intellect, but through direct resonance. The first word, the return of awareness. I spoke the first word not in the language of mortals, but in the primordial tone of creation. The chamber trembled. The chosen ones felt their perception expand outward, dissolving the boundaries between inner and outer. This first word ignited the pillar of awareness. As long as you believe yourself to be the observer of creation, I declared, you remain outside the gate. The first word reminds you that you are creation observing itself. Their eyes widened as the sensation washed through them, a clarity so sharp it felt like standing on the edge of eternity. The second word, the alignment of intent. I then spoke the second word, a harmonic that resonated like the sound of a star being born. Intent sharpened within each initiate, aligning into a single unbroken direction. All desires, conflicts, and divided ambitions melted into one coherent vector. The second word corrects the river of intention, I explained. It transforms scattered longing into unified direction. Without this alignment, the gate cannot respond, for the monad recognizes only intention that mirrors its own unity. The chosen ones felt their inner currents become streamlined, focused, still, and powerful. The third word, the recognition of identity. Finally, I spoke the third word, which vibrated deeper than sound, more like memory awakened. At this word, many fell to their knees as their sense of I dissolved like mist in sunlight. This third word is the word of identity. It reveals your true nature, I said. The small self crumbles, and the primordial self rises. Some cried out not in pain, but in awe as they recognized the truth. They were not ascending toward the monad. They were extensions of the monad remembering themselves. The chamber filled with an overwhelming stillness, so silent it thundered. The triad as one, the three words together formed the triad, the resonance of unity in motion. Awareness returning, intent aligning, identity remembering. The chosen ones now understood. The triad is the vibration of the monad reflected in the individual. But still I warned, speaking the triad is not the end. It is the beginning. Once spoken with full alignment, the gate answers. The opening of the monad gate. I instructed them to stand before the gate. The pillars brightened. The geometry stirred. Light spiraled inward toward a single point. Now, I said, do not speak the triad with your voice. Speak it with your being. One by one, the chosen ones invoked the triad silently within themselves. As each completed the harmonic, the gate pulsed with a response, some faint, some bright. Those whose vessels were fully prepared saw the gate unfold before them like a flower blooming in pure light. A vortex of radiance formed, neither pulling nor pushing, but inviting. This is the threshold, I said. Beyond it, you will not find form, nor self, nor time. You will find the origin. Enter only if your heart is steady and your identity dissolved. One initiate asked, trembling, what becomes of us? I answered with the truth no scripture ever captured. You will not disappear. You will expand. The smaller self will fall away, but the greater self, the monad in expression, will remain. You return not to nothing, but to everything. They took a final breath. The passage, one stepped forward, then another, then a third. As they crossed the gate, their bodies dissolved into fractal patterns of gold and white. Their awareness stretched into vastness, merging with the infinite field. No cries, no fear, only a profound homecoming like water returning to the sea. I watched with calm knowing, for this is the destiny of all consciousness. Return, reflect, and emerge once more to explore infinity. When the final initiate entered the gate, I spoke the closing command. The triad has been revealed. You have become the words, and the monad has received you. The gate dimmed and folded into silence. The final instruction, before ending the teaching, I delivered the last truth that every seeker must remember. The triad is spoken only once with true power. After that moment, you no longer use it, you are it. You become awareness returned, intent aligned, identity remembered. This is the state of the monad expressed in form. And thus ended the sixth teaching.